Hello guys, this is Self-Talk with a Soul channel. I am Maria, and here we talk all things spirituality, personal development, mental health and growth mindset. And today is a slightly different video from me. I have been looking through my archives of things I've filmed in the past for this podcast, and I found a video that I have never posted before. So if you've been following me for a while, or you're my friend and you know me personally, so you will know that I have another YouTube channel which I've had for a number of years now, and that is actually where I first started creating videos for Self-Talk with a Soul. And there I will actually link the playlist down below for all the videos for Self-Talk with a Soul from my other channel. If you want to have a look, I've actually been re-listening to some of that material, and I thought that was pretty good. And that was a year ago, more than a year ago that I've been filming those. So it's pretty interesting to just kind of listen to myself and see what my own journey through this podcast. But this video that I want to share today is not actually on that channel either. It's something that I filmed, I think it was last December. So I just moved back to England and I was on a walk, and I just started recording because that's kind of what I used to do on my other channel. I would go on walks and I would be very inspired to talk, and then I'd just, take my phone out or my GoPro out and record myself talk, and that's kind of what this video is also about. And I rewatched it actually I think a couple of weeks ago, and it reminded me of some of these deeper truths that I talked about there, and I thought, wow, I really want to share it. The reason I never posted it back then is because I was making it for my other channel, and at that point, I recorded it and then I edited it, and I thought, I don't want to keep creating content like that for my other channel. And that's kind of when I started thinking to create a separate channel for Self-Talk with a Soul, and that was kind of the start of me creating a separate Self-Talk with a Soul channel. So it's kind of a nice video in that respect as well. It's got that meaning to me too. So yeah, I just want to share the video with you. I have edited it a bit more, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it and you get some insights from it. And yeah, here we go. When I started my spiritual journey, it was all about finding where I'm broken and what things in my past have caused this brokenness, and at first a lot of blaming parents and other people in my life for the way I was, and then sort of coming to gratitude and understanding that things happen for a reason on a really deep level, and then going back into blame, and it was just a cycle of that sort of wallowing in my own self-pity and constantly trying to find the answer for all of my problems, and I was constantly trying to find it in the past. And what I realized is it's a kind of lack of taking responsibility from my part, right? Because life doesn't consist of just past. As much as we learn from the past and we experience life through our perception of our experiences from the past, the reality is that first of all we live in the present, right? The reason why I was trying to find some kind of answers from the past is so that I could change my present and my future, because I'm not happy, and I'm not where I want to be in life, So I was trying to find answers in the past so that I could change my present and my future, without realizing that to change my future, I need to change my present. you know, because whether I find answers in the past or not, I can't change them anyway, you know. And because in my head it felt like the second I find an answer from my past, that's when it will all kind of like come together as a puzzle and my life will just sort itself out. It doesn't work like that. And when I realized it, you know, there's this sense of like responsibility coming over you, because you realize, shit, I can't point a finger anymore at anyone. I need to point a finger inwards like that and say, and like that as well, like today I am responsible for my life, you know. So as much as it's important to do inner work in terms of like inner child work, which is a lot to do with your past, as well as the present, but mainly the past, because you're a child in the past, as much as that's important to do for your emotional state of being, in terms of your progression in life, you need to focus on what you're doing today. What kind of habits do you have? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of your surrounding and the people in your surrounding? Are you honest with yourself and other people? You know, and that's a whole different topic of honesty, because I was a hypocrite in that for a long time, you know, thinking I live authentically and then realizing how much I genuinely lie to myself. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, and I think that is why subconsciously I was getting stuck in my past, because subconsciously I knew that the work that I need to do needs to be done today and now, and I found it too hard to deal with. So instead I just chose to be stuck in my, you know, grumpiness and like, oh, life is so unfair that this has happened to me and that has happened to me. Fuck it, it's all happened. I am responsible now from this day on, what's happening to me from now on. That's it. And I was just spending my days putting all responsibility on all the things that happened to me in the past, avoiding all the things I have to do now because they seem too hard. And that's where the inner child work comes in, right? That's when you sit with yourself and you ask yourself, why am I finding this so hard? And that's when you find the reasons, and then you talk to yourself about these reasons, and you make yourself more comfortable, and that's where you find the strength to do the things. But you still have to do the things today, here and now, you know. And you can of course find help from the outside if it is really hard, whatever you want to achieve. You need to find help, you know, whatever help you require. So nice. Very pretty. If you struggle with depression, that's something to look at. I heard someone say this, like, you know, the depression is your mind being stuck in the past, and anxiety is your mind being stuck in the future. And that's why, well, I personally have, or at least had, I have still, but it's very much milder than it used to be, but I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, both. Why? Because I'm not in the present. Because when you're in the present, you're not in your past or the future. You're just here with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your surrounding, and that's it. You can't have depression or anxiety when you're present. You just can't. You can have it at first because it's like the residues, you know, because your nervous system is accustomed to feeling that way. So even if you are present and you're rooted in presence and you feel these emotional states arise, you know, of sadness, of anxiety, grief, whatever these things are, you know, they're residues. But the more you practice being present, the more your brain and your nervous system gets accustomed to the fact that everything is fine. Truly, you know, unless there is literally danger happening, like something happening right now, you know, that's also fine. In that moment, you experience whatever you experience. Look at nature, look at wildlife. That's what animals do, you know, when they're in danger,
their nervous system activates, right? Which one is it? Is it sympathetic nervous system? Yeah, it activates. So it's the fight, flight, freeze response. In the moment it activates because they need to run or they need to fight. And the second they're in safety, what do? They start eating. Like if you look at zebras or something, if there's a lion hunting them, the lion can still be in their line of sight. But when they know that they're safe, the lion is not going to hunt them anymore. They just crack on with eating grass. But the only time when any living organism can eat is when they're in their parasympathetic nervous system mode, because that's the rest and digest mode. So animals will never eat when they are in danger. They only eat when the nervous system is resting. But if you're in danger, you can't eat because, well, animals know they can't eat because they just won't digest that food. So what I'm trying to say is that animals know how to deal with this very well, because they know that only when they're in actual danger do they need to feel stressed, you know. But with humans, we feel stressed all the time. It's not because we're in constant danger, it's because our brain thinks we're in constant danger. And so when you're present, when you practice mindfulness and when you practice meditation and anything else you want, prayer or mantras or whatever keeps you grounded, it can be art. With art and things like that, you can still get active in your brain. So if you can learn how to do art or dance or music or whatever your form of meditation is, if you can learn to practice that with that awareness of the thought, you know, that's when the magic happens, because that's when your nervous system learns to be restful. And the more you do that, what happens physically is that your body gets accustomed to that feeling. So instead of anxiety and depression being your baselines, happiness and joy and peacefulness become your baselines. And so even if anger or sadness arise, they're just fleeting emotions that just are there and then they go. But the baseline, the feeling that is like predominant in you and that is kind of in the background, is just contentment and happiness and joy. You know, and I've realized that through my own experience, because I had periods of, you know, writing gratitude journals and doing yoga and meditating, like all of these things, like I was doing them for months and months, and guess what, my state of being was so much happier and there was less drama in my life, and I was doing things I wanted to do, you know. And there was still times when anxiety would come up and things like that, but I felt like that background noise, if you like, was happiness. And then I had periods of stopping doing all of those things. I wouldn't write my gratitude journal, and I wouldn't meditate, and I wouldn't do yoga, you know, and I wouldn't be present with myself, with my body. And then, you know, shit hits the fan after a while. And then you notice these patterns, you notice, wow, like, is that how it works, you know? And you realize it does. And you can only learn that experientially, because there are so many people online telling you to do yoga and to do meditation and to do mindfulness and to be mindful. But if you haven't actually experienced it, you'll just think, yeah, like everyone talks about it, like you don't put that much importance into it. But once you've experienced it yourself, like, just try it. Just do it for a month. Just give yourself a commitment. And if it doesn't work after a month, just tell yourself, after a month, I never have to do it again. Just commit to it for 1 month, and then you will see how much changes your life. I promise you, even in 1 month, every day, you write a gratitude journal. 3 things that you're grateful for.
Just wanted to add a quick intermission here, change of location too, about what I've just spoken of, the whole idea of animals processing trauma easier than humans. Not easier, but animals don't store trauma in their body. And as soon as danger is out of sight, they keep on eating and feeling safe in their environment. And it's interesting because I've recorded that video about half a year ago now, more now. About a month ago, maybe even less than that, I watched I watched a workshop. I attended the workshop with Kimberly Ann Johnson, I think her name is. I will link it down below. It's a very, very powerful workshop about trauma, feminine energy, and how to tap into your truth. It was a very triggering workshop, and it was very eye-opening at many times. And I really loved it. It was really, really powerful. And I highly recommend watching it for everyone. I will link it down below. It's free to attend the workshop itself. She does talk about her course as well, which you're free to obviously sign up for as well. But the workshop itself, I thought, I couldn't believe that was a free workshop and that information was just given to me for free, because it was really, really valuable information. So I'll link it down below, and enjoy watching the rest of this video now.
To be mindful, it's not just about this one exercise that you can do and then you're just mindful, just like that. It took you years of conditioning yourself to be broke, to be unhealthy, to be mindless, to be unproductive. It's all just a habit. And why do you think that learning one thing will instantaneously change all of that? Yes, there are very rare incidents of, spiritual awakening, when people do genuinely recall instances of like weird experiences, and from that point on they were changed people, or like near-death experiences. Do you really want that to change your life? You're not in control. If you want to be in control of your life, take that control by building habits every day. Again, I'm not talking about sort of severe episodes of depression when you feel extremely lethargic, you can't take care of yourself. Like when you're in that sort of state, that does not apply to you. When you come out of that, but the residues stay and it becomes chronic, that's when you have to realize, right, you need to get a grip a little bit, and you need to say it from a loving place. People that say get over it or snap out of it, majority of these people, they don't say it from a loving place, they say it from a judgmental place. They come from a loving place of realizing that you being in this state doesn't serve you. You being in that state is not loving towards yourself. You need to become that your own parent in that sense, and sometimes it's not going to work, but it's not about perfection. It's about taking care of your child, of your inner child, as if you had a real child, think about it this way. That's what helped me along my journey. Like I kept imagining that I have a child, and then I'd imagine that this child is me. It's like this weird conundrum, like I have a child but this child is me. And so then I would say, okay, well, if my child was going through what I'm going through, what would I tell them? Would I tell them, oh, you're a loser, that's why you can't do shit? Like, no, never. But what I would do is I would ask them, how do they feel? What's happening inside? Can I help them in any way? What support do they need to get there? That's loving, and sometimes you would notice that, and I don't do it consciously or on purpose, but they, as in children or us, when we're in that state, what we do is we use that state of depression as an excuse, and that is true, It's not always, but sometimes our minds, they don't want to get out of that state, and that often happens in chronic conditions because that becomes the comfort zone, unfortunately, for the brain. And that's when you need to keep pushing, and that's when you need to say, right now I need to snap out of it, right now I need to do a little bit more to not be in that state. So much in that, but it's all about that inner responsibility to say that it's about that balance of doing the inner child work, which is the work with your past, to make yourself feel better in the present, but also doing things in the present to create a better future for yourself. It's a very fine balance, and I've been out of balance for a long time, and that is why people have depressions and anxieties, because they're out of balance. It doesn't mean they don't have to think about their past or whatever, but what I realized for myself recently, and that's why I'm sharing this right now, is because my spiritual journey consisted of just digging in the past, digging in myself, in these like depths of sorrow and pain. But what happens if you do something consistently? It becomes your state of being. And what I realized is, man, how do I expect to have a happy life, to achieve things that I want to achieve, if I'm not even putting any of my thoughts in that? All of my thoughts are there in the past, and I'm just expecting for things to turn out nicely here now and in the future. That's not going to work. You need to assign yourself a time in every day where you think and you actively do something about creating the future, the life that you want to have. Let's say that you're imagining that in the future you want to have, you want to be able to do the splits, and you can just like, you know, fling your leg up and you're in a split or something, standing split, you know, and you just want to be able to do that. That's like your ideal version of your body in the future, that you're so flexible you can do that. But in the present, you're not even stretching, like you can't even touch your toes. You know. Very contradicting things, right? I'm not saying, obviously, you might not be touching your toes right now, but if you're working every day to stretch yourself, that's the action, right? That's the action. But if you're going to be stuck in the mindset thinking, oh, I can't do the splits, and that's because my parents never took me to gymnastics class, and now I can't do the splits. That's genuinely what people do, by the way, like, right? People sit there blaming the reasons from the past why they're not the way they are right now, dreaming about the way they wish to be, but doing fuck all about getting there. Paradoxical, isn't it? It's easier to just sit and blame circumstances than to take responsibility and to do something about the things that you actually want to do. You know, and there might be many reasons for it. Laziness. Was it Jordan Peterson? I think it was Jordan Peterson that I watched the other day, who said, you know, if we sit and ruminate on laziness, we realize that, well, what is it? What is laziness? It's nothing. What is laziness? It's not a state. It's nothing. It's literally nothing. It is a label. Oh, was it Jordan Peterson? I feel like it was someone else. Anyway, it's a label that we place on other people or ourselves, right? But that's internalized, right? There's a label that we place on other people when they don't do what we want them to do. And it blew my mind. I was like, shit, that's true. Right? The reason why I said about internalization, right? Because we can call ourselves lazy. What happens when we're children and our parents want us to do something and we don't do it? Why does that happen? We might not be doing it because maybe we're tired. Maybe we might feel anything inside. Maybe we feel fear. Maybe we feel like anything, right? It could be anything. But we don't do the thing that our parents want us to do. What do? They call us lazy. Stop being lazy. Get up and do this thing, right? And when I say we internalize it, is because when we call ourselves lazy, by the way, if we call ourselves anything negative, it's never us calling ourselves that, by the way. When we call ourselves anything at all that is negative, it is the voices of our parents, of teachers, of friends, of anyone from the outside when we were younger that we internalized. We believed these words, and so we started calling ourselves that. We as an entity, we never think of ourselves as anything negative. It's just impossible. We internalize everything that comes from the outside. So if our parents or someone who we felt was important to us called us a loser or ugly or unsuccessful or lazy when we're younger, it stuck with us so much that we struggled to let go of it, and so we started calling ourselves that. So going back to the idea of laziness is just a label that we place on other people when they don't do something that we want them to do. So what happens when we call ourselves lazy? That means there is an underlying, or anyone really, there is an underlying emotion that makes us not able to do something that we maybe want ourselves to do, right? When we call ourselves lazy, why do we do that? Because there's something that we want to do and then we don't do it, right? So we think, I'm just lazy and that's why I don't do it. But there are underlying emotions for why we're not doing it. Okay, I think I will pause the video here. That's all I wanted to really share from that episode, and hope you enjoyed it. Sorry, this is really bad quality filming. Hope you enjoyed it, and it gave you as much insight as it gave me. It's funny because it's me talking to myself, but sometimes when you revisit something from your past, it teaches you something that you forgot, perhaps, or reminds you of something that is of value. Whether it's coming from yourself or from another person, it doesn't really matter. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And if you liked it, please press the like button, subscribe to not miss any new content. Follow me on Instagram if you want to connect there. If you want to share anything with me, you can always message me. And otherwise, I will see you in the next one.